welcome in. Um, we have a lot to cover. You will see soon. Don't worry. This time I decided to do a PowerPoint because sometimes I just start ranting and raving and there's no visuals. I thought this definitely might be one where we could use some visuals. So I got you covered. And yeah, so for those who don't know me, I'm Rainier, licensed mental health counselor based out of Florida. And I'm really glad that everyone's here. I do fun things like EMDR and, a lot of telehealth and, lots of trauma work and mostly work with folks in the neurodivergent community. I myself am autistic. That does not make me the know-it-all about this population, but I'd like to think it gives me some extra insight too. So for anyone that has any questions throughout, I do my best to try to manage presenting and sharing and answering things that come up. So depending on how good my attentiveness is, we shall soon see. But there is a Q&A button that you should be able to use at the bottom. That kind of gives me a little pending questions. That's usually the best way to not contact me, but to do it so I can kind of see it in order, although the chat is open, and if you want to if you have options for reactions or whatever feels most comfortable, need to use captions, we'll take care of all of that. All right, so bear with me as I get my screen up and move some things around. And we're good. Okay. All right, so our little bit of our agenda today is just kind of an introduction to this world. If you're already in this world, probably know a good chunk about it. A couple of definitions that might be new or maybe very well known by you already. Things to know. These are some little bits and bobs that I've put in here. Tools and a pathway forward. What are some things that might be good to know about ourselves, about others, about this communication topic. So I've put a lot of this together to be about giving us some new language. So things that we can maybe didn't know that there were names for, maybe we did, or maybe we can hear it talked about in a different way to help us with communication internally, externally, in groups and societally. So if you're ever a little bit confused, let me know. My brain kind of works like a web, so I see everything very interconnected. So I like to start with a nice foundation and then build from there. So let's begin. All right. So here are some basic baseline definitions. Neurodiversity, neurodivergence. There are also some fun terms you might see on social media like neurosparkly, neurospicy. Some people love them, some people don't. That's part of language, right? Use what you love, lose the rest. So neurodiversity was originally coined in the autistic community, and it is really just commenting on the natural experience of diverse brains. There's this idea, I think, in society that we all are kind of carbon copies for some reason, or we all think and experience the world in the same way. And as time goes on, I think we're seeing that is really not the case. In fact, the diversity experience is more a common experience. Now, neurotypical, in some communities, the word neuroconforming is used. Some people are cool with that, some people are not. Again, just giving you some language options. Is that the brain functions in a way that is considered societally acceptable. So if you hear me using the word NT, neurotypical, I don't think that actually means typical, nor am I trying to put people of that experience above neurodivergent people. It's more of just kind of a little wink, nod reference to those that think in a way that is considered acceptable. People that are making perfectly pleasant eye contact and, not skipping over their words and being super attentive and, love that small talk, which is why I put the exclamation and question mark, is that it's considered the dominant majority. I think most of us know that in all types of diversity, what's considered majority is often not really the majority. It's just what we've been taught as the majority. Now, allistic is a fun little word you might hear me say sometimes. All it simply means is somebody who is not autistic. And let me open up. I see some chat stuff. Ah, yes. Okay, cool. All right. It's just a word for non-autistic. That's it. So if I say allistic, what I'm trying to say, because sometimes with the word neurodivergence, neurodiversity, some people use that to mean more autism or autism and ADHD or ADHD. Some people mean to expand it to a broader world. So I don't really like to use the word, neurotypical if I'm meaning something else like allistic. So I try to get a little more specific about it. So you can be neurodivergent and allistic, or neurotypical and allistic. There's lots of different options here. It's simply just speaking to the autistic term. Now, as you may have noticed as I'm talking, this little note here about person first or disability first language. Most of the time, like I think back to my time in grad school, some of you may have heard this in your own experiences of just living or schooling, peopling. This idea that person first language is the way to go. We must never ever say, an autistic person, an ADHDer. Don't say that, because now you're defining the person by the condition. Some people personally do not want to be referred to that way. If you point to somebody else and say, oh yeah, that autistic guy over there. Guy over there may not like that, and maybe like, I wouldn't say that. I identify as an Aspie, which that's a whole giant asterisk. Back to the Asperger's term, which has a very deep history that I encourage you to do some research on. This might not be the best place to talk about it, but there's some difficulties with that history. However, some people still appreciate using that term. Asperger's is no longer in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. I don't love the book myself, but sometimes it has some benefits, which, is making things maybe more like a spectrum than otherwise. Anyways, back to the language. A lot of people like to identify as condition and/or quote disability first. Like I will always say I'm autistic, and people say, well, you're a person living with autism. Yes, but that's not how I want to say it. So we try our best not to define other people for themselves, but use the language that fits us and feel very free to own it. A lot of people will try to redefine you because they'll say you're defining yourself by your condition, or it's sad, or it's not appropriate. If we look into the disability justice and advocacy communities, there's a lot of push forward for people to feel very free to use disability first language. Same thing with when people are like, oh, don't call that person disabled, call them handy capable. A lot of people in communities with disabilities are like, please, we don't need that language, but some people like it. So there's a lot of ableism stuff that has to be checked on, internalized and otherwise. But what it really boils down to is feel free to use the language that makes sense for you and is affirming to you. Yes. Yes. Somebody mentioned the locus of control, controlling the narratives around your life. 100%. Okay. Let's go forward. All right. So just to offer the different types of neurodivergence here, there can be a lot. So I thought that I would offer the big view here instead of some people, when they say neurodivergence, they just mean autism and ADHD. And I've shown that here. This is simply just a way to show a little picture of some overlap that I thought would be fun, because these are the two big dogs of neurodivergency, but we must acknowledge that there are plenty more, because neurodivergence simply means all the natural occurring experiences in people's brains. So we have things like Tourette's, tic disorders, learning disabilities, of which there are many comorbidities with a lot of these, especially autism and ADHD, like dysgraphia, dyscalculia, math, language, writing disabilities, dissociative experiences, mood, anxiety, trauma, and stressor-related conditions, personality conditions, intellectual disability spectrum, even dementia, TBI, brain injuries, and more. If there's a type of human difference you can think of, it can belong under this umbrella. Now, that doesn't mean that people living with these things may identify as neurodivergent. A lot of people say, you know what? They adhere more to that's more of an autism ADHD thing. I don't want to co-opt that. I don't feel comfortable identifying under that umbrella. That is totally fine. But the umbrella can still exist and be there. And I think it's good to cover this so people know, what kind of community they may have access to. So I threw in this picture here just because this is supposed to be representative of more of the overlap in a lot of experiences. So this is just one simple representation of, the two big dogs here, where a lot of people think that these are very separate things. ADHD is so separate than autism, when there's actually a lot of overlap that we're now finding. A lot of people always think that stimming, which, if you're not familiar with that term, basically means some sort of self-stimulation behavior. It can be, tapping your leg, be playing with a fidget toy. It can be repeating something verbally multiple times. That gives you a sense of joy. Spinning, rocking. We'll get into further types of stimming as well. Hyperfocus is also another one that lives within both of these. We're also going to look at another couple of things that aren't shown here. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at here is respecting our differences and acknowledging some similarities. Now, I thought I would add a little fun fact here, because I kind of feel like this is my life's work to share this fun fact. More so as like if it could help somebody find an answer. There is a connection between being in the LGBT community, being in the neurodivergent community, and potentially having a connective tissue disorder, like an Ehlers-Danlos, a hypermobility spectrum, a Marfan syndrome. So if you're ever walking around feeling like you're Gumby and you're having dislocations and your body feels odd, or there's interesting body things going on, obviously I'm not a medical doctor and I can't diagnose you, but you might want to take a look-see at that. There's a lot of research going on about what is this little triad here. I happen to be the triad. So that's why I'm saying, if I see it, I see it. So yes, thank you, Paige, for noticing. It's very interesting. I had somebody ask me today, what's the connective tissue have to do with the, in this case, autism? That we don't exactly know yet, but we're working on it. So I always like to share that just in case people are dealing with body stuff. And this is a really strong connection. So just a little tidbit there that I thought I'd drop. Okay, this is going to be a big hefty. This is going to be a real big hefty slide here. Why I brought this up is because this is a lot of language that a lot of people do not have defined yet, or maybe this is new, or maybe you know all of these and you're like, good, awesome. These are things that can help us be kinder to ourselves, have a name for something. If you name it, you can tame it to a degree, right? I'm not saying that everything's going to be perfect, rainbows and butterflies, but generally, if you name it, you can tame it. At least you have a word that you can do something with. You can look up more information. You can connect with others. That's the bigger point here. is the communication and the connecting with others. Is if we know our accommodations, our needs, and what we relate to, we can ask for more and better from others. And we can shape a world of communication that works for us. Because many times we don't know, and we just pick at every single thing. We're like, oh, I acted weird again. I didn't say the right thing. Why was it so hard for me to make eye contact? Why did I act like that? Why did I not go to the party? Da, 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 da. Why did I do this, quote, weird thing? And there's probably some language for it. And it's almost always going to be a part of maybe what you're living with. So we're just going to go over some terms, and I hope that they, get some sparkles going in your brain, or give you some new language and make you think about how you can communicate this to somebody else and how you can learn more so you can define your needs. I'm really big on accommodations, and I always joke with people, you might think, I don't need accommodations. I function very well. Are you stealing them out of somebody's hands? Or can you just have them if you want them? There's not enough to go around. You changing a communication need that you have, like one of mine is, don't call me. Do not call me on the phone. If you call me, I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to watch that voicemail roll through. I'm going to read the transcript. Then I'm going to text you and say, if you need to have a call, we need to set up a time to call. But calling me random? No. So that's an accommodation. Am I stealing it from somebody? No. It's simply something that makes communication for me better and more functional. So I have preparation time. Grayson understands the vibe. We are not randomly calling. I don't care who it is. That may be my spouse. Maybe. Everybody else can love you so much, but I am going to be questioning what is going on. So, and fun fact, when you set these boundaries and you accommodate yourself, not always, but most of the time people listen, and it starts happening less and less and less. In all cases, you're kind of behaviorally training them anyways. If you keep not answering the phone, it kind of gets boring to keep calling the person. Yeah, I like that. It's the phone learning what to do. Yes, we love that phone not ringing loudly in our ears too. Okay. So our first word here, this word always seems a little alien-esque to me and gives me the giggles. Monotropism. I don't know. There's something about it. Fancy word for single point of interest. You can have this in really anything, but on this one, I'm going to focus a little bit more on ADHD and autism. Monotropism is what people get into when they are seeking comfort. So I'm right into my show or my book or my cool special little world. Single point of interest. I'm talking about this one topic. Now, some research has shown that when people that have the experience of monotropism are interrupted from their monotropic point, whatever it is, the brain considers it slightly traumatic. Now, I don't want everyone to get, about this. This doesn't mean that we're experiencing trauma every 5 seconds and our brain is just turning into mush because people do interrupt, right? We're deep in research and somebody's like, hey, you want dinner? And you're like, oh, why did you just pull me out of my thing? It is a little ding. That's how I think of it. It's a little ding to the brain, like, ugh, disorienting. Disorienting might be the word. Okay. You understand that experience then? Yes. Yes. So it's that kind of disorientation to like I was writing, I was reading, I was dancing, I was singing, I was researching, whatever it is that you do. Monotropism is meant to be a source of comfort. A side piece of language for it could be like a special interest, right? People tend to get very monotropic about a special interest. Seek coping, seek comfort. So This is very good to know in setting some communication boundaries around. If I look like I'm really deep into something, finding a way with a partner, friend, family, how you can be approached because of monotropism. Not I'm difficult, I can't be interrupted, I can't deign to talk to you at this time. And why I'm mentioning that is because sometimes people act like neurodivergent folks are just being difficult. Difficult, annoying, troubling. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't be interrupted, you can't be bothered. That's not the approach that we need people to have. It is literally a brain situation. My brain is firing on all cylinders for this, and now you've brought in this errant little bothersome thing over here. Now, if you brought it in gently, said, hey, in 5 minutes, or I sent a text, hey, in 5 minutes, we're gonna start preparing. It's not about people babying us or us being annoying or difficult. It's just about people working with what our brain. That's it. And you'll probably notice that as the whole vibe of today. Just people being kind. Yes. Yes. I see some comments about, yep, maybe people being snappy, maybe being better friends and partners. Yes. And we've all done it, right? Even if we are somebody that experiences monotropism, when we get cozy in our little points of interest, we can also be the person that goes, hey, what are you doing over there? I did this today, and I'm presenting about it, and I know a lot about it, and I'm interrupting my ADHD spouse. Monotropism, I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, hello. Seconds going by. Huh? Oh, I just died in my game. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That's what happens. I just interrupted somebody's monotropic thing. So it happens. We all do it. I think the best thing we can do, acknowledge it and be graceful, right? Sorry about that. I was just feeling a little antsy to go to the store, figure out our plans for today. I'll get out of your hair. Now, some people, when they're interrupted for monotropism, they're kind of done. They're done for like the next couple minutes, or they're just done. So sometimes our interruptions will pull them out for a while. This is not a life or death situation. We're all humans. Unfortunately, in this life, we all can't be in our monotropic spaces probably 24/7, right? Somebody's going to contact us, a workplace request. We just do what we can. That's all we can do, right? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right. And I'm always open to any questions on these things. So I'm just giving you a little blurb on each. RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria. This is more commonly associated with ADHD or people questioning. By the way, I totally forgot to mention, however you're showing up here, questioning, self-identifying, self-diagnosed, professionally diagnosed, please know you're welcome here. Just because I'm a professional doesn't mean I don't respect those things. So, usually if we spend enough time with ourselves, we're more or less the expert on some things going on with ourselves. So yes, professionals can help and give us some, sounding board and mirror to look back at ourselves. But yeah, feel free to take any language. Again, you're not taking it from anybody. So even if you're like, I don't know, I'm not diagnosed yet, take the language. If it helps you understand something, please go for it. Nobody's, the woo-woo of the police is not going to come over. Sorry, I got too excited and I skipped over my, wow, okay, sorry, a lot happened there. Skipped over all my things. Okay, so rejection sensitive dysphoria. Again, getting too excited. Because all of this is my special interest. So if you're wondering why I'm like, ooh, it's because I love this stuff. This is basically the deep held sensitivity, fear and worry of rejection that seems more common with ADHD folks. And I'm not just talking about a general sadness or worry about feeling rejected, because that's humanity. It is not safe to feel rejected. Doesn't make sense with our little brain chemicals. But this is like an extra dose of pain. Now, I've often thought, besides the research they're doing on seeing how this is showing up in the literal brain, like this is actually a brain thing, it's not just a random thing, is ADHD folks get a really bad rap. Really bad rap. It's like the language that is thrown at these folks is really terrible. Lazy, unmotivated, inattentive, disorganized, and even worse stuff like, you don't know what you want to do in life, or, you don't get anything done, or you don't care, this, that, and the third. When what's really happening is a whole different experience of the world, and the world not wanting to see it and not making what I think are some really gentle accommodations. When I write accommodation letters for my clients, it's often little more time on test. Can I have a note taker? Can I record this so I can listen to it again? Can I have some extra visuals? It's not rocket science. It's not asking somebody to redo their whole lecture, 15 different ways, but it's something simple. So when you hear that from day one as a little one, sometimes even in some kind of backhanded passive aggressive stuff like, oh boy, you really are bouncing around a lot today, or oh my, it'd be great if we could start class if little Bobby could look at the screen. These are ways that society tells these little kiddos who then turn into adults something that you're doing ain't right. Now, how can we see how somebody as an adult would just hear any tinge of judgment in somebody's voice and just shrivel? Yeah. Not only is there probably an organic brain-based thing here alongside the brain-based organicness of ADHD, but now we have the environmental feedback. And I always tell people, I'm like, again, we're all humans. We all probably mess up. We say stuff, we don't need to, go, oh gosh, I said things like this before. I'm ADHD and my child is ADHD and I'm talking like this. It's going to be okay. It's all about noticing now and doing what we can. But if you've been the experiencer of this, it's really painful. So I see some chats coming in, so I'm just going to look. Yeah. Somebody asked if I have a website. I will get to that. And if I don't, at the end, just remind me again. Yes, a certainty that you won't be accepted. And it doesn't take too many "you're weird" mentions from people before it sets in. Making difficulties, increasing isolation, yes. Ooh, really good noticing here of ADHD and bipolar have some similar symptoms. I tried to organize this presentation, but that's another thing I could go off on a very long rant about. I know way too many people that have been misdiagnosed. I am very, 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 very hesitant to diagnose bipolar. Not because bipolar is bad. That's not where I'm going with this, but it is very important to diagnose everything correctly, but especially bipolar, because if you say, hey, this person's bipolar, the psychiatrist says, I hear you're bipolar. They're medicated for bipolar. Now we're creating bipolar symptoms with wrong meds. And now somebody has been mismedicated, mismanaged, misdiagnosed, back to square one. What kind of precedent does this set? And a lot of people, there's a lot of populations that people like to put the blinders on about neurodivergency too. More specifically with the autism and ADHD. A lot of people, nobody wants to look. They're just like, nope, that couldn't be. You're just moody, you're rude, you're lazy, you have conduct disorder, you have oppositional defiant disorder, you're this, you're that. Oh, someone, who's a woman or a girl. No, that's not possible. They're just a little quirky, a little different. I could go on. People of color being totally swept under the radar. Just, oh, you're this, you're that, especially associating with negatives. I mean, my mind could just, I swear. Yes. Okay. Good book mention. Talking Back to Ritalin. Oh yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts about this. If you can't see that I'm sweating, I am, and I sweat when I get excited. Also, I have POTS, which is part of that little triad that I mentioned earlier. And it dumps adrenaline into my system. So if you're ever like, wow, this person's getting a little wacky, that's what's going on. So we're going to be okay. All right. Visual clutter. Have you ever walked into a room that is actually not that messy and just felt like everything in the world is in this room? It's all over the floor. I can't exist. I can't focus. I am stressed. I'm done. Or something similar. There's something that you need to use daily. Maybe it's a med bottle. Maybe it's a toothbrush. It's almost as if somebody just took a nice big eraser and went. That's part of the visual experience with some neurodivergencies. Things that you see constantly, sometimes we just blend out. Suspiciously, it usually seems to be with those what we call activities of daily living items, anything that has to do with showering, food, bathing, teeth brushing. Hello, this is one of my cats. This is Punk. We're going to get some visitors today. The mind tends to kind of blank those out most of the time because there's some demand avoidance, which you'll see later here, which will pull this all together, where we just don't really see these things. A lot of people think that this is, again, part of that laziness, don't care. Some people literally are not processing these things because they might represent something that they have some difficulty with, maybe from childhood or life. The amount of times that neurodivergent kids who grew up to be adults have told me, oh, I could just never learn to brush my teeth, or nobody ever taught me because they thought I was too difficult, how to brush my hair. I actually don't know how to do this. Sensory-wise, this really bugs me, and I can't find a way to enjoy this, and I feel bad and lazy and gross and dirty. Can be part of visual clutter. So I don't have any beautiful and amazing, life hacks that are tremendous, but keeping things around areas that you definitely use, like if it's your computer, if it's your mirror, putting things in your shoes, I'm a big fan of, or putting like a little bag in your shoes if you know you're going to put those shoes on, bag of things that you need, especially with meds. I often tell people to get one of those med holders, or there's a month-long rainbow sparkle medication day and evening thing. We have to make things novel. We have to make them fun. And things have to feel like treats during doing something, not after. A lot of neurodivergent brains could care less about the treat that I will get after. They're like, I don't know what after means. I need treat now. Fun fact, I think that's why a lot of us like to have little drinks. Little coffee, little tea, fun jazzy drinks, is because that's a great treat that you can enjoy throughout a task. So kind of went off on a thing there, but yes. Oh, okay. I like that. Yes. All right. Ooh, I am behind. I've got 10 minutes till the panel starts. Let me scurry up, and we might only hang out on this, but I'm going to try to hurry up with these. Over and under stimulation. We hear a lot about over, too many sounds, too much crosstalk, too many people, too many things, too many textures. That can lead to a lot of panic and overwhelm. Understimulation. means we just don't have enough. We could feel a little like deep burning irritation. Maybe we can even become, I personally describe it to myself, a little annoying. I start going, hey, hi, what are you doing? What's going on? To my spouse. And they're like, I'm not managing this. They're like, you better find, where's your stim toy? What's going on? Because I'm trying to make up for stimulation when suddenly there's too little. I would be happy to spend some more time on that at some point. Delayed processing, it's pretty fast to understand. If you've ever said to somebody has said to you, or you've said to somebody else, hey, what are you doing over there? Hello, hey, what are you doing over there? Oh. Now in my house, both of us have delayed processing. So usually the 1, 2, 3, I'm doing that in my head whenever I'm talking to my spouse. I'm like, so what's going on? Yeah, so later I'm going to drive to the store. Okay, cool. I don't go, hey, what's going on? Ask, ask, ask. And a lot of times neurodivergent brains kind of clip out the last part of a sentence. It's like, hey, what are you doing? So, in communicating, we can often tell people about this so they can be more patient. Because a lot of times people think we're just being belligerent and difficult. We're not listening. And we can clear that up real quick with my brain sometimes processes these things moments later, minutes later. It will get there. Repeating it a million times, raising your voice, not going to help. Then we have, I call demand advocacy. It's called PDA, pathological demand avoidance. I don't want to have anything to do with the word pathological. Demand avoidance is basically a demand is made of me. I need to go to the store. There's a bill sitting here. My stomach is rumbling. This person said, clean out the closet. All of those are demands. Some of those are internal. Some of those are implied. Some of those are external. And your brain just goes, anyways, you ignore the person, you put them off, you hide things, you go, I don't know why I haven't gotten to that. A really good example is that it can be with things that you even want to do. Like I like to have little outings, and my spouse will say, hey, let's go to Home Depot. I have no business at Home Depot, but I'll take a little outing. Now tell me why when they're waiting at the door, I start vacuuming. By the way, I'm a bit of a weird one. Most people are probably not going to start doing random chores, but me and that vacuum, ride or die. What you're really doing is you're trying to create space between yourself and the demand and understanding this is a new thing that's happening in my day. This is something I have to make time and space for. So you might do some odd and interesting things to make that space. It's all just about being aware of it. And giving this language to other people and yourself can be gold. The amount of times I've told clients, friends, they use this heavily, and now there's less of you're being defiant, you're being belligerent, you don't care, you don't want to. And why I call it demand advocacy is technically when you're saying no and avoiding stuff, you're advocating for yourself. You're like, I'm not messing with that. Now, can we always just say, I'm not messing with that? No. But and then stimming, I always just like to put out there, kind of like I did earlier, not just an autistic thing. A lot of people with ADHD stim. And sometimes this can even be correlated with fixations, a la Freud. A lot of people I work with are like, you know what? I don't actually think I like vaping or smoking, whatever it is they're smoking. I'm not going to get too detailed here about substances, but it'll be more about the ritual of preparing something, or whatever it is, the lighting something, whatever it is that somebody's using, and more about the I have something in my hand, I have something in my mouth, and not so much I love this or I'm quote addicted to it, but that it's like an actual oral stimming thing. Same thing with sometimes crunchy foods. Some people sit and just eat crunchy stuff on the couch and be like, I'm not hungry. I don't actually care about this, but I sure like that crunch. I like doing this repetitive thing that I'm doing. There's more to that story, but I know yes, sensation seeking. Yes, 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 yes. Love that. So I probably only have a few more minutes. So let's see what is left. So I was just going to put a little visual here about challenging some internalized ableism. A lot of people do not like the puzzle piece as a symbol for autism specifically, because they're like, what it's based off of is missing a piece. So fun fact there, maybe not so fun fact. This person, this artist here, says, I do not need solving. And they instead like the infinity symbol, which is a really cool symbol for neurodiversity. It's a nice little rainbow gradation infinity symbol, which there is a gray infinity symbol on, I believe, iPhone and Android. So if you ever just want a little, instead of that blue puzzle piece, it represents that nice, broad spectrum that never ends. So feel free to take that with you, because a lot of times some of our language and visuals, questionable. Yes, the world has allowed for a greater expression of individualism that historically has been suppressed, 100%. Okay. All right. I'm going to rush through this, and I probably should have put this earlier. I'm going to focus on the right real fast. If I don't get to finish it, please look up neurodivergent love languages. It's on a site called Stimpunks, which, by the way, is an incredible website. If you've heard of the love languages by Gary, whatever, I can't remember his name right now. That's all fine and good, the acts of service, the la-di-da. Neurodivergent love languages are really cool, and this is what can help with communication, partnerships, and a lot. Because we have info dumping. This is sharing lots of big pieces of information. I love this, I love that. Do you want to hear about my new interest? Do you want to hear about this, new underwater creature I found out about? Great. Parallel play is basically we're in the same room or in some sort of shared digital or actual space. This person's reading, this person's building Legos. You have a nice, loving, warm space. You're just hanging out. Okay, I'm going to check my chat because I'm getting nervous. Body doubling is more for task. Like, I often need my spouse around when I'm doing laundry folding. Just the presence. If you want to help me, awesome. If you just want to exist there, cool. Support swapping is basically, hey, did you take your meds? No, I didn't. Did you check your sugar this morning? Swapping that support. My favorite named one is please crush my soul back into my body. This is about weighted items. Being held in a bear hug, liking to swaddle yourself, kind of hide away, be held by something. You like weighted stuffed animals, lap pads, vests, blankets, jackets. All of these things exist if you didn't know, so take a look. And penguin peddling, that's me to a T. When I used to have employees back in my old job, they would find a little blue jay feather or a little sticker, a little coupon for a place that they like on their desk. I didn't say it was me. They just knew. Same thing can happen virtually. You could just drop a little meme or a little video, say thought of you, love you, and run. Maybe they don't hear from you for a couple days. So I will pause here because I feel like that's probably where my time is, or at least close. So I will put my email and website in the chat. We are not done, of course. We have our beloved folks on our Q&A. So actually, I'll send that stuff later because these people are more important than all that. All right, let's see. I think we have everyone here. All right, so I'm just going to shift right over to Q&A mode. So thanks for my abrupt just, take off the exit. So we are going to be with the lovely Leia, who I'm sure all of you know, who is the beloved human who created Pineapple Support. She'll be with us today. We have Raheem with us. we have Sir Peter, we have Benny Fox. So I am going to be asking these folks some questions and hopefully just hearing their stories, because I've talked quite enough. So thank you all for listening. I'm here if you need anything, but let's go ahead and get our Q&A folks up and running. If folks want to turn their cameras on or whatever they would like to do to feel comfortable, I'd love to welcome everyone. Yay, hi Benny. Hi Leia, yay, I'm seeing people. Okay, so would everyone like to? You don't have to, I mean, I kind of introduce people, but if people would like to do their own introductions, please feel free.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Sir Peter. How are you doing?
Good, good. Nice to meet you.
Same. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
A pleasure for me and be a part of this discussion and to know that a lot of us have the same struggles and the same worries, and we are all just humans trying to learn and to improve, I guess. Right?
Yes, indeed.
Hi, I'm Leah. For those who don't know me, I'm founder and CEO of Pineapple Support. And I have ADHD. Recently diagnosed, so although I've had it for a long time, it's been an interesting journey. Just discovering more about myself and my brain.
I mean, should I go next?
Yeah, please.
Thank you guys for inviting me today. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot as well as, speak a little. My name is Raheem Shabazz, adult entertainer. It's interesting hearing you speak earlier, Rainier. Like hearing a lot of what you said, I even feel like in my own life, in my own experiences, I can totally relate to a lot of the things you said people go through. So yeah, I'm here to learn and add to the conversation.
I'm so glad to have you.
I guess that leaves me. Hopefully everyone can hear me. My name's Benny Fox. I'm from Australia, and I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, which kind of has been tricky to navigate as an adult entertainer for the past couple of years. And I've come from politics, very interesting kind of transition from politics to adult entertainment, but the way we treat neurodivergency has been something that's really interested me as I've transitioned. So I'm excited to hear everyone's stories and talk a little bit about myself.
All right, I'm so glad. I feel like we have such a just lovely little group. So I'm just going to get those questions out there. And I mean, hello, we're all here because I imagine we're in this community. So if you interpret something I say differently or you want to go off on your own kind of variation, please feel free. That's all a part of the story, right? So this is, and if any of them are just like, they don't quite work for you, there's more questions, right? So the first question is, what is something you wish all people knew about neurodivergent communication styles or those differences in neurodivergency? Take your
I guess
time.
I'll jump in there. I think it's something, I think people should know that not everyone does everything the same, and that's okay. I mean, we all have our different ways of communicating. We all have our different ways of taking information in. Yeah, and also I think social media has made it where we feel as though we know a person and how they're going to be when we do come in contact with them. I think that puts a lot of pressure on people with this. So you have to remember, number one, you don't know them. And yeah, take the time to listen to them and yeah, learn that way.
Yeah,
Me?
you go.
So no, in my case, it's always were the sense of me thinking there's only one answer for one question. There's only one right answer for it, and sometimes when I felt like I thought differently, I felt bad, or I felt like I shouldn't talk, or my opinion on what's going on in my head was not at all what's correct or what's everybody thinking. And of course, I have these lexica and these calcula as well. So numbers are not good with me. I'm not good with numbers, and letters for me and words. In my mind, in my head, when I see them or write them, they're completely wrong or in their different ways. So for me, it was more of a learning that there is no only one right way to communicate or to express what you're feeling. And after I realized that, I think that's when I realized that what I do in my professional life as well, that I should not be ashamed or should not be feeling like I should hide who I am and what I'm going through. So anxiety as well played a little bit part of in all of that. So doing being in those industry, all of those three things when they got together was a bit challenging for me to try to manage them and to solve them. And that's why I reached out for help and to understand my brain and to understand myself better. So that's basically for me the beginning of my process of acceptance of my less or my challenging areas of learning or understanding.
Is it okay to ask Sir Peter a quick question?
Oh my God, you're going to ask me.
I'm sorry, you know me. You know, you're such a big star. You know, with all of these things you mentioned, do you feel as though these qualities, because people don't know and they like to assume, do you feel as though you also have to deal with people thinking you have a bit of narcissism or ego?
Yes.
Because you stand, yeah. I think that's a
All the
huge
time.
thing. Yeah.
I think you suffer the same thing because I know you a little bit.
Oh my
So,
God. You know,
so
yeah. You're
yeah,
better than I am with it. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess the thing, yes, because people just they don't know. People, of course, they are not suffering from different from all the stuffs that we do. That people confuse that with being a narcissist, a diva, a rude person, or just not to be like we don't care about them because we think we're better. And most of the time, in my mind, in my head, I'm extremely uncomfortable. I'm extremely anxious. I don't know what to say, or if I say something, they'll be interpreted in the way that I wanted to. And being truthful will be like truth, honest, and upfront can be a problem. I've learned that. So for you happens the same thing. So I doing what I do, I think what would do for me, it helped me the way of acting in the way that I'm playing somebody else, that I'm not playing myself. So in that areas, I learned to actually to know myself better, if that's making any sense. But that's basically it. It's like you don't think you know me, but yeah, you don't know me that well.
That was a great back and forth. I loved that. I always get so happy when that happens. Also, I totally forgot to mention, I see 2 virtual hands raised. So if people like that option, if you're like, how do I jump in? Always feel free to use that too. I think Leia, your hand is up first, maybe.
Mine first. Trying to not do that ADHD thing where we just kind of talk over people. Yeah, I wanted to kind of reflect on what Raheem said, where everyone's different. And I think, a lot of people are used to seeing me out and about and in crowds and putting on, it's almost like a robotic face. Hey, how are you? All the things that you're told that small talk should be, and it makes me so uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable, my hands are sweating. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just repeating what should be said. And a lot of this comes down to, like, reflecting back, now I'm understanding what's happening more. Being younger and being told that, oh my God, you're so weird. Why did you say that? That is so weird. What is wrong with you? So now in my head, I don't want to say these things. As Sapita was saying, you just shouldn't talk, because some people think it's rude. Some people do think it's just odd. So I end up kind of in this repeat pattern of just putting on this front until I feel comfortable enough to get past that small talk. And it's not the same every day. I think that's something else that people should know. It's not every day isn't the same challenge. Sometimes it feels easy, and then sometimes it doesn't. It depends what's going on in the background, whether I have 300 thoughts or just 12, whether my personal life is stressful. All of this affects the level of intensity in what's going on.
Yeah, I think kind of what I'm just kind of building on what's already been said. What I kind of guess I wanted to say was that I find it very interesting in the industry, the way that people learn from each other differs a lot when it comes to something as trivial as body size, or a body type. Something I've always found very interesting, having worked in politics, was I'm not the traditional masculine guy, and I was never going to be put in a role that was kind of very forward-facing like that, because I didn't epitomize what a lot of people wanted, and I'm sure a lot of queer people can understand that. But I think when it comes to talking about mental health and neurodivergency, sometimes people assume that I don't know what I'm talking about because I am young and because I look a certain way. And I think it's really important sometimes to not just take a step back and listen to what other people are saying, because we should do that with everyone. But there's so many ways that mental health and neurodivergency impacts the way that we talk and the level of seriousness that conversation can have as well. So I think just being aware that some people may be more comfortable than others just talking about it, and some people might need a little bit more of a nudge. And obviously it's hard to do sometimes because you don't want to be overbearing, and you don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. But I think there is something to be said that some people are going to be more confident talking about their mental health and their neurodivergency because of their the way that they fit into a specific category, or the way that they fit into the adult entertainment industry or sex work in general.
I just love everything that's going on. Oh, the insights are incredible. So I gotta say, I don't know if you all saw, we have a Q&A question, and I want to get rid of my next question and go with this one if y'all feel comfortable. If y'all can't see it, there's one here that says, how do you go about identifying your neurodivergent needs? How do you reconcile internalized neurotypical standards with those identified needs? I will add a little tidbit first, just because this question is so exciting. I'm going to try to keep it short to, I think, gut check. Gut check. Your body will tell you a lot. Your mind will also tell you a lot and be more distracting and say, oh, well, you should do this, or why did you do that, or this is wrong, or this is bad. But that pit in your stomach when somebody says, yeah, do you want to watch my kids for 3 weeks? And your stomach goes, "Hmm." That's telling you, no, we're done with that. Or if somebody says, oh, like, okay, or they talk, they're talking, that's what I call talking to you like you're an asshole. Sorry for my language. But, when people are doing that, or they're acting as if they're trying to make space and other you, where they're like, oh, they're just doing that thing again, or, oh, that was a little strange. Okay. Your gut's going to tell you. It's going to tell you, and if you're ever questioning, why do I feel so weird around that person? I shouldn't. I don't get it. Your gut's probably telling you something. Now, this is not a thorough and complete answer to the person who asked this, but y'all have an immense wisdom. So, yeah.
It's your gut, but also your previous experience. I mean, sometimes you have to try and you just know it's not for me. And I think a lot of us get caught up in feeling we don't want to disappoint people or feel like the oddball. So we do allow ourselves to repeatedly get into situations that we know are not for us. I think a lot of it is just knowing what's for you and what's not, and just being honest to others as well as yourself about that.
I was about to say, like, sometimes you just don't reconcile with it as well. Like, sometimes you have to accept, I think, that you're going to be interacting with people who won't completely understand you, and sometimes you won't completely understand yourself. And there's a certain level of peace, I guess, that I've come to, and I think people should be able to come to in terms of, like, realizing, oh, I do this differently, and I thought everyone did it that way. And it's not just from person to person because of the way that they think, but even having traveled a lot, I really noticed like cultural things as well in the way that different cultures interact with neurodivergent people. So I think that you need to kind of be at peace, or you need to at least start to be at peace, or realize that you're never going to be able to identify all of your needs and reconcile with that. And therefore everyone else can't either. Sometimes you've got to understand that you're not going to fully understand someone else, and that's okay.
Yeah. Like everybody said, I think the most important thing is like, in my case, like I always try to fit in because everybody, of course, wants to be part of something, to be part of a group, part of a community. And there are times that I felt like people actually they hearing you, but they don't listen. So anything that I would say, they'll just nod because it's the polite thing to do, but they're not listening the same way that they actually they watching you, but they're not actually seeing you because they don't understand or they don't care because what you're saying makes nothing sense to them, so they don't even try to understand what you're saying. So for me, it was like I felt even worse when that happened. So I tried to now, of course, being honest is the best policy, I would say. Not too honest as well, because I've learned that as well. So all of the learnings of the experience that I went through, I tried to find the middle ground that was always good for me as a person to be good with myself, because I need to say those things. I need to people to listen to what I'm saying, just to be there to support or to just be there, but say, I am listening. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I'm here for you. That's important. And especially in the adult industry, this has a big impact as well because in our mental health and all of the anxiety, all of the pressure, all of the things that we think that we need to do or to go to just to please and to try to stay longer or to do more things. And the best part for me now was to all of the things that I say that it was wrong or not so good for me, like my obsession to things to be in a certain way, to organize them, because in my mind they make sense. So when somebody puts a cup on the living room that was supposed to be in the kitchen, I cannot go to bed knowing that the cup is there because I know the exact place is there. So I try to challenge myself not to do it, and I failed in a way like because I couldn't. So I stayed awake all night long, and I went there to get the cup, and then I finally go to bed and I can actually fall asleep. But then I learned why I feel so bad, or to actually for something that I think that is good. I turn that thing in a good thing. I turn it into a positive thing. I think nowadays I look at it as being organized, or being a little bit obsessed about something that's for you in your head makes sense. Shouldn't make you feel bad. It can feel good because you are a person that's likes things in a certain way, and that's why I feel, and I say this to people, don't feel bad or feel ashamed of the things that you think others make you feel bad for it. Just celebrate them, because there are other people that will look at you and they will feel like they are being, that you are a mirror to them. They see themselves in you. So for me, that's the best part, is just turn those things into a positive always.
I think for me, as you said, Rainier, naming has helped. Even just this presentation that you gave has been a huge benefit. So getting snappy when I'm disturbed from writing or reading and all those things, understanding that that is a neurodivergent need. It's not me being an asshole. And so that's been a huge help. I think there are some things that I can't avoid because of work. For example, I get loud noises, particularly like out of nowhere, like children screaming. Children screaming puts me on edge. And it's become a running joke with my close friends that I don't like children. If there's a children's party, even if it, if it's a child, don't invite Leah. She's not going to have a nice time. She'll just look angry and scowl at the children. So my close friends understand that. And, if it's a smaller kind of one-on-one, then I don't mind being around children. But when it comes to like conferences, being in big crowds really makes me anxious. I've learned that the way to cope with that is to take breaks and allow myself to take those breaks. Don't feel guilty for going up to the hotel room and sitting there for 15 minutes and staring at the wall. Because, when I first started doing the conferences, it was, oh, I can't take 15 minutes. I should be working. I should be here. I should be this. But actually, if your brain needs to take that little break and you need that little bit of time away, then that's what you should do, and it will, improve you all round. There are the occasions when you're at a conference dinner, for example, and it is just so loud, and you've got all these people sat at like big tables shouting over each other, trying to have business conversations or whatever else. And that's something I find particularly difficult, and I tend to kind of go inside myself, if that makes sense. So, it's like you kind of build this little protective bubble where I'm not even trying to listen to anyone anymore. There's just all this noise going on around, and I think the only way to protect myself is just pretend it's not there, to blank it all out, which again comes across as rude.
Can I ask Leah a quick question? I'm sorry. You always look like, listen, I look at you sometimes and I'm like, I wish I had her confidence. Like yeah. How do you turn it up? You do not look like a person with these internal thoughts. Like you're very good at hiding it. And I think a lot of us want to know that secret. Like, how do you turn it off, and how do you handle the moment?
I found fashion and makeup and things really helpful. I dress, and if my outfit looks confident, and if I'm feeling good about the way that I look, then a lot of the time people don't even pay attention to what you're saying. They see this, boom. And then, if they start the one-on-one conversation with me, then I'm fine. But it would be the going up to people or the dealing with a crowd that I can't cope with. So, you know, you see me at the shows, and it's always dressed. And the reason, thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, the reason I do that is to kind of put that protective cover on.
Yes. I love that everyone spoke to just kind of just trying to work with your needs and validate them. Because, yeah, also I heard like when you were talking, I should do this. Don't should on me is one of my favorite statements. When you hear that up here, it's like there is something going on that's suspicious. It's like should? No, like that word always tends to come with trouble. Yeah, and then I just love like thinking about moral value. Like there's not a lot of moral value on, you know, I think somebody said in the chat about like, yeah, if a party ends at 2 for most people, but it ends for you at 9, that's fine. If you like to go to the beach but you don't want to go swimming with everyone, that's fine. And I love that because there's no moral value on that. You know, nobody's like checking a box of, you know, that's the right thing or it's not. Just trying to manage without shame, which is why, you know, whenever we do identify those needs, I think it's really cool to just say it neutrally. Like when I go anywhere, I look like an incognito person. I wear like a sun shirt, I have a sun hat, I have sunglasses, I usually have like earbuds in, I don't want to hear anything, see anything. And if people are like, oh, what's that? Or they're trying to act like I'm weird, I'm just like, an earplug. But if I go, oh, it's yeah, it's my earplug and I need it, I'm sorry. I'm showing shame. I'm letting you now shame me. But when I'm just like, it's a shirt, it's a hat. Yeah, I don't like talk. Yeah, I don't do things after hours. You basically send it back to them. Yep. Continuing with the shit metaphor, like if you're gonna hand me the shit bag, I'm gonna pass it back. Yes. All right. So, kind of speaking of that, since you know, our lovely attendee brought that cool question to mind, I was wondering of y'all, what are some accommodations that help you connect with yourself and others best? You could go super literal with this or not, and if you need examples, let me know.
I think for me, it's being in quiet, not too crowded places, because too many people and too much noise can be distracting and overwhelming at times. And I think especially if you're dealing with a person who goes through the same things, yeah, if you can give them a chance to communicate without those outside, I'm going to call them pressures, yeah, the better.
Yeah.
I can. Oh, geez,
No, I'm just saying yes to him because I see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I almost feel like I'm the opposite. Like I think like I need people around me to stop myself from spiraling sometimes. I really, with my OCD, sometimes it's list making, sometimes it's just obsessing over very minute things, and sometimes having people around me makes me realize there's a bigger picture. And I think my, I guess, advice would be to have at least one person who you can kind of talk to. And that's a privileged thing, you know, like not everyone has that. But like for me, it's my sister, you know, like she knows about everything. And like, but whereas a lot of people don't know what work that I do, and that can be really lonely. And especially because I travel and I basically live out of hotel rooms, like that could be really lonely. So it's really good to have my sister or like someone, even if it's virtual, to have around. And that is kind of the way that I like monitor myself and check myself and like take myself out of this spiral that I'm going down.
Yeah, it's funny because Raheem said, because we know each other, and there are times that we talked about it and we exactly were thinking the same thing because we're actually feel the same way. So there are times I just look at him, or probably just looks at me, and it's time to go home, just to leave this. Because for me now, like, it's not that I don't love people. I love to be around people. I like to be social, but there are times that comes with sometimes of a pressure, and that comes and evolves to an anxiety, and then I just need to feel so small in the way that I just feel like, so I gave so much already. I don't know. They took so much out of me, so I feel drained. So I have to just go back, and people ask, "Why did you leave so early? Why we were having fun?" Like, it's not that I was not having fun, or the idea of me having fun was to be doing this or that. It was just my need for my break and for my sleep and for my whatever I need to do
Can I
for
say this about you? You are the nice one. you,
what?
Sir Peter will let people drain them of that energy until he turns into somebody you don't want to deal with. Listen, I'm the
Oh,
one you don't want to get to that point, so I'll check out before
you
I
should
get
check
to that point.
before. You should check out
Sometimes
before
I
I
have to
do. It's
grab, yeah,
true.
yeah.
because I because I try to make my work and your work after. So like I try to I don't know. Sometimes I try to push myself to just to that breaking point that's for me to just leave. Sometimes I just find some strength to just motivate me to just stay a little longer to see how it goes, to see if I can, you know, feel more comfortable. Sometimes never happens, like almost never happens. And then I try to find like somebody that I know. For example, if you're there, if Lynn is there, we'll talk about her fashion. We talk about our lives, probably that people don't know anything about. And it's funny because again, it goes back to the same thing. People know us, or they think they know us, but we are people just going through stuff, going through some struggles like everybody else, and they expect us to be always amazing. We don't have any problems. We are on top of the world. Nothing is wrong. So every time you try to say how you feel, that you feel anxious, you feel nervous, they don't get it. They don't understand why, because you have everything in their minds. But at the end, I just try to take a breath, leave, or if I have to leave, I leave. I don't apologize for it anymore, because if I do stay and feel bad, the day after will be even worse, and then it gets on the spiral that it's not good. So just try to do positive things and do things that makes me feel at ease, and I'm perfectly fine with it. If they call me rude, they already think I'm mean, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to echo what you guys have said about taking time away and leaving when it gets a little bit overwhelming. I think I tend to try and kind of gravitate to a close friend or someone that I feel comfortable with. If a close friend isn't nearby, if I don't have my emotional support Kelly or something along those lines. Also, and I know you probably shouldn't be admitting these things on a mental health panel, but alcohol when I'm in social situations when it
Wait,
just
I wanted to
gets
say it, but I didn't want to say it. I wanted to say it. Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
yeah.
Alcohol. Listen, but I don't want to get drunk. So there's only a limit, a certain amount of alcohol you can rely on. But yeah, thank you,
I
Larry.
think with the ADHD bit, it's very once I get going, it's like, oh, that's nice. It's that stim. It's stimming. Because I do the same with snacks. You say crunchy, so like a grape or a popcorn or a crisp or something. I'll just keep going and keep going. And it's not because I'm hungry. It's because my mouth likes to be amused. And it's the same with
It's a
take that
funny
as you will.
expression. Yes, a funny expression.
Love that. It's so good to hear about all your accommodations and some of the building or the current confidence behind it. And yeah, I am really grateful that we just threw out alcohol out there. Why? Because what we need to be real, right? Like not all of us are, oh, perfect sober saints or whatever the case may be, or straight edge. And I think it's just knowledge, right? It's like I'm using this and what's the purpose? So when I do actually work with people that are dealing with certain substances and they don't want to. I'm like, before we get into this whole, DARE program, rah, 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 don't use drugs, like, why did we start? Or what is it doing for you now? So we can just think about it. Just think about it. And some stuff's helpful. Sometimes some stuff's helpful for a little bit. Some stuff, we're like, I think I've moved on from that. But the neurodivergent community has such high rates of substance use because, hello, we're trying to mask stuff. If people think we're rude, if people think we're this, if people think we're that, it's an easy, quick mask to put up. And sometimes, we know our limits with it, and sometimes we're learning it. So I'm glad that we put that out there because it's a surreal experience. So I am questioning. I'm going to look at Leia and ask her to help me out. Should I ask another question, or should we just start putting the nice little bow on things?
I think there's time for one more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So how do y'all think isolation specifically affects neurodivergent people?
I can say that it messes me up. I have too much time to think. I will sit and decide that people hate me. I'll run over things that I've said to people, God knows when, and they assume that they're still focusing on that. But it was probably 3 words that they don't even remember. But for some reason, it will go over and over in my mind. If it's chosen alone time, it is completely different. That is, we all need that time to recharge. But sometimes when I would rather be around people and I'm feeling lonely, my brain will go to some horrible places and do it on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. It's difficult to get out of that spiral.
I mean,
Well, I'll let you go. Then you go, Peter. I'm always talking.
you always make me go first. Why? Always make me go first. Yes, we know each other, so yes, we can say that. For me, it's I like my time alone. At the same time, I don't. Meaning, I know that for me to settle myself down and to gather myself back to my own normal self, let's just say it's my own perspective, I need to be by myself. But at the same time, when that happens for 2 days, 3 days, when somebody just tells me, let's go out, let's do this, let's do that, I physically can't leave because I don't know what happens inside me. It's why should I leave now? And that breaks a little bit of the social things that we need to be around people to make us more involved and engaging. So there are times that happens, and I tried always to put sometimes a timer on the time or the amount of time that I stay by myself, because it goes back to a different problem, that's thinking. And then I go to bed thinking, then I cannot sleep because I'm thinking about thinking and overthinking about what I'm thinking. It makes no sense. And I don't go to bed, I don't sleep, and I still wake up the next day thinking. So I like just to find a nice way to take all of that. I just don't touch any phones or TVs or anything. I just grab a book. I just read it. I just be at my most calm self, I guess that. And that happens in my work as well, in our work. After a day of working, I don't want to be around people. I feel I already gave a lot and already gave too much sometimes. And I stopped regretting it, or in the case of I shouldn't feel this way, or I should stay, I should be going out still, I should be with more people. No, I did that when I was younger, when I didn't know why I was feeling this certain way. After I understood what that I had dyslexica and anxiety, and all of that, That's when I try to put myself first. And being selfish is not bad. It's actually good. There are times that you just have to be selfish for yourself to get that gut instinct working, and to say, I need this for myself. And others can understand, others may not, but that's who I am.
You took my answer.
Here we go.
You took my no. I'm with you, Sir Peter, on that, because doing that, isolating, it's kind of like curling up in the bed in the cold, and you don't want to get out of bed, but you have to go to work, or you have to socialize, and you get so comfortable doing it that when you do get out there, it's like, I forgot how to do this. Like, do I look stupid? Or people? Yeah, you look. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how you kind of learn about yourself through isolation, though. Like, coming from Australia, I don't know if I said I'm Australian, but we had one of the harshest lockdowns in the world down in Melbourne. And literally not like, it was like, this is obviously a very literal example of isolation, but not being allowed out of your house more than 500 meters from your home and by yourself. And it kind of, that isolation, I think, can have a good impact to an extent, because that's how I found out that I had OCD. That's I was cleaning 3-4 hours a day, and that's kind of, that helped me being able to be like, okay, well, because of that isolation, I figured out what is happening inside, and I was able to get help. But of course, it's just like everyone else said, the isolation can really take a toll, and that's what drew me to today's panel. I think it's something that's not talked about enough, particularly in adult entertainment, where we travel a lot and where you don't have people who you can always talk to about your sexual health or the job that you do, because they might not be comfortable, because you can't tell them because of safety or whatever it might be. I'm rambling, but all I guess I want to say is I think isolation can be good to an extent, but yeah, just like everyone else said, it can really take a toll if you are alone too long.
Okay. Oh, yes. And it can definitely be hard to find a way. I think some of us, like me, like if I don't see another person for a long time, I'm good. But for other people, they're like, no, I need my people. And I think we're all just different, and we have to lean into it. And I think that sometimes society, as much as I love language, sometimes certain languages co-opted or warped. And I hear people saying, am I codependent, am I this? And I'm like, you're literally just a social creature. Like, that's it. Like, I think we're all right. So yes, I think everyone has given some really good insight on everything. So yes, I will post my website and info. I did want to throw out there, I'm going to post something in the chat before that. Some people have been asking, and obviously accommodation has been a big subject of what we've all talked about today. It's kind of an odd little website. It's focused on job accommodations, but what's really cool is that it's got an A to Z list, literally, of almost every condition. If you click on it and go down to accommodations, again, it's going to have that workforce lens, but it lists so many types of accommodations that we could try to use for ourselves, or ask for at work, or ask for from other people. So I thought, why not have a big, giant, hefty resource? I'll post my stuff in a second, but I think most importantly, I want to thank the whole panel for being just lovely and authentic and kind, and taking the time to think about your experiences and being open enough to share, so people can see themselves in you and feel connected and related to. I think everyone did such an amazing job about just being open and kind and generous.
You are all exceptional human beings, and I love you all dearly. Thank you so much for all your time and openness. It's great to have that on board. And obviously, once again, I want to thank our sponsors, tonight of the last few days, which are Brazzers, Clips for Sale, Chatterbait, Duke Dollars, ePlay, Friends to Follow, Off the Record Models, Pornhub, Sex Panther and Swaps for supporting this great event. To the viewers, thank you for sharing this with us as well. Please do remember to check out our website, pineapplesupport.org, for future events. We do have a similar event coming up in December, which is our annual wellness summit, so do keep your eyes peeled. And for all of us at Pineapple, thank you. You are loved. And please have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you all.